Are you an INFJ who's ever wondered what it's truly like to date another INFJ? This isn't your typical relationship advice. We're diving deep into the complexities, the unspoken understandings, and the profound connection that can only happen when two of the rarest personality types truly bond. This is not a fantasy about finding your twin flame. It is a reality check, a roadmap, and a mirror held up to the parts of you most people never see. If you want the title without the work, turn back now. But if you want to know whether your relationship is ready for a true INFJ, let's begin. The deep dive begins the moment the surface shatters. At first, two INFJs can feel like an instant lock. The same quiet intensity, the same radar for meaning, the same distaste for small talk. You recognize each other's cadence. You hear the subtext under the sentence. You feel the gravity of shared values before you even swap favorite books. It is intoxicating because it is rare. But here's the hard truth. The qualities that draw two INFJs together are the same forces that can quietly pull them apart if they remain idealized. Two prophetic lenses stacked on top of each other sharpen vision, but they also magnify every flaw. What looks like harmony from the outside is often a delicate dance of projections, boundaries, and timing on the inside. And if you're not ready to do the internal work, even the most profound connection will buckle under its own expectations. Are you really ready for the INFJ connection you think you want? Begin with your relationship to quiet. Two INFJs can build a sanctuary of silence that feels holy. It is warm lamplight after a long day, a place where no one performs and everything matters. But silence has two dialects: safety and avoidance. The first is where you sit together and breathe, knowing neither of you needs to be on. The second is where tough truths sink below the surface and grow roots. An INFJ who loves peace more than growth will call avoidance compatibility. An INFJ who loves growth more than comfort will call it a warning sign. Your readiness shows up in how you treat that silence. Do you use it as fertile ground for clarity, or do you use it as a blanket to smother conflict? If it is the latter, you're not ready yet. Readiness is also about your relationship to your own intuition. INFJs lead with a pattern-seeking mind that connects dots others haven't noticed. When two INFJs are together, it can feel like you're co-authoring a theory of everything, stringing constellations out of conversations that most couples never have. That is a gift. But intuition is not evidence. Two INFJs can accidentally create a closed loop and misread each other with total confidence. You believe you know what the other is feeling because you sense familiar currents, because you would feel that way, because the story fits. Then you act on the story instead of asking the question. A true INFJ relationship demands a practice of explicit reality checking. Here is the story my mind is telling me. Is it true for you? If that sentence is hard to say, you're not ready. If it's easy to say but hard to hear, you're not ready either. Let's dispel some myths. Not just rare or mysterious, INFJs are complex, and complexity is not romance on demand. The myth says two INFJs will glide through life in mind-melded bliss. The truth says two INFJs often need translation even for each other. You both read subtext. You both hold back until you're sure. You both protect people from your intensity until you trust them to handle the fullness of your thoughts. As a result, your early months may be full of layered hints and coded kindnesses. But relationships do not run on inference forever. Mystery is a beautiful doorway, it is a terrible living room. If both of you keep the door ajar yet never walk through with direct clarity, you will marinate in ambiguity until small misunderstandings calcify into large distances. The couples who make it do something counterintuitive for INFJs. They ritualize clarity. They pick a night each week to check in on values, needs, and assumptions. They ask, "What did you assume about me this week? What did I assume about you? What did we not say because we wanted to keep things light?" The ritual is not dramatic. It is ordinary. But ordinary truth is how rare souls build something that lasts. There is also the myth of the INFJ door slam as inevitable destiny. Yes, INFJs are capable of decisive boundaries that sound final. But two INFJs in a conscious relationship do not wield boundaries as punishments. They use them as early invitations. The first version is, "You crossed a line, goodbye." The second is, "I care about this connection, so I want to name the line before we cross it." Your readiness shows in how early you can name the lines around energy, time, privacy, and personal growth. Can you say, "I need 2 nights of solitude a week and I need you not to interpret that as a sign I'm leaving"? Can you add, "I need direct feedback, not hints, when I disappoint you"? And can you hear the same from them without translating it into criticism? If yes, you are inches closer to ready. The INFJ obsession with meaning can be a superpower. Two INFJs can build a shared mission that runs like a quiet river under everything. The kind of partnership that volunteers together, hosts deep conversations, writes, mentors, or builds projects for a cause. Purpose weaves the daily into something timeless. But meaning can also become a measuring stick that steals joy. If every date becomes a summit on ethics and future plans, you will starve play. The healthiest INFJ couples treat meaning as a season, not a constant weather alert. They oscillate between depth and delight on purpose. They schedule goofiness with the same seriousness they schedule strategy. They let lightness be a discipline. They remember that a relationship that cannot laugh cannot last. While we're addressing myths, let's talk about emotional labor. INFJs notice. You notice when someone's cadence shifts. You notice the hidden disappointment in a sigh. Two INFJs together can create an environment of exquisite care where both people feel deeply seen. Yet, if you've always been the one who notices more, you might expect your partner to preempt every need the way you preempt theirs. You might expect mirrored mind reading. That becomes a quiet resentment factory. Readiness requires moving from predictive care to requested care. There is nothing less romantic than waiting to be rescued from an unspoken need. Ask. Receive. And trade the fantasy of perfect anticipation for the intimacy of practiced asking. Conflict styles are another crucible. Many INFJs dislike open conflict. You weigh every word, sense every ripple, and fear ruptures that feel permanent. Put two conflict-avoidant people together and you get harmony that is built on suppression. Put two conflict-competent INFJs together and you get some of the most respectful, solution-oriented conversations you will ever witness. The difference is not personality, it is skill. There are practices that shift the way you fight. Use time boundaries so intensity never takes the wheel for hours. Speak in observations and curiosities before interpretations. Agree on repair rituals so every argument ends with a bridge. And when either of you senses the debate is drifting from the problem toward identity, name it. I am not your adversary. I am on your side against this problem. That sentence changes the room. Attachment patterns matter. Two INFJs with secure attachment often create a sanctuary that feels unshakable. One or both with anxious patterns might chase reassurance in subtle ways. Excess meaning checking, constant emotional temperature scanning, the sense that any silence could be the beginning of the end. One or both with avoidant patterns might create micro-distance, polite warmth that never gets fully vulnerable, deep ideals that never become messy reality, care that stops an inch short of need. If you want to be ready for a true INFJ connection, learn your attachment patterns and explicitly design for them. If reassurance calms your nervous system, agree on consistent touchpoints. If autonomy keeps you grounded, build structural space into your week. The more intentional you are with structure, the less your fear runs the show. Then there's the T question, the private internal logic INFJs use to make sense of the world. With two INFJs, you get two quiet analysts who have likely spent years building frameworks for everything from career to ethics to love. These frameworks can either become a shared language or a silent debate. When your logic clashes, it will not look like shouting. It will look like contention disguised as serenity. The fix is intellectual humility. You are not your framework. You are two living minds using tools. Trade the temptation to win for the commitment to refine. And literally say it out loud, help me refine this model. That simple phrase transforms the conversation from a referendum on identity to a co-creative practice. One of the least discussed issues in INFJ dynamics is pace. INFJs move fast internally and carefully externally. You may reach long-term clarity in your head long before you are ready to enact it in the world. That lag can create friction when one of you wants to decide and the other wants to keep sensing. No one is wrong. You just need a shared pacing protocol. Name decision thresholds beforehand. Ask what counts as enough data. Agree on windows for exploration and windows for commitment. And when timelines clash, default to the slower pace on big decisions. Patience is not passivity, it is respect for the way each mind stabilizes. Let's address surface-level relationships and why they will crumble with a true INFJ. A surface relationship is built on three pillars: performance, projection, and pretense. Performance is playing the role of partner without ever letting your nervous system be seen. Projection is falling in love with the ideal you placed on the other person instead of the human who exists. Pretense is the careful editing of self to avoid rejection. All three feel easier. All three are terminal for INFJ. Because INFJs can smell pretense like smoke, because the ideal will eventually collapse under reality, and because performance is unsustainable for minds that crave coherence. A true INFJ relationship survives by trading the thrill of projection for the relief of presence. It says, I want you, not the diagram of you. It says, here are the brilliant parts of me and here are the disordered drawers too. It says, I will not shine at you. I will sit with you. There is a unique loneliness in INFJ pairing that often goes unspoken. You finally feel seen and then you still feel separate. You marvel at how rare the overlap is and then grieve the parts that still feel untranslated. This is not a failure. It is a sign you are two whole people, not puzzle pieces. The cure for that loneliness is not fusing tighter. It is expanding your relational ecosystem. INFJs need more than each other. You need friends who bring mirth, mentors who bring challenge, communities that bring practice. Two INFJs in a sealed vault is not romance, it is a slow leak of oxygen. Love grows where air circulates. Let's get practical about readiness. If you resonate with the INFJ desire to fix, you will be tempted to assess your partner like a project. Resist it. Instead, take inventory of oneself. Can you name your energy limits without guilt? Can you describe how your body signals overwhelm? Can you narrate your internal weather out loud in simple language when it matters? If you can, you are safer company. If you cannot, you will hand your partner a maze and expect them to solve it without a map. Another marker of readiness is whether you can let love be ordinary. 2 INFJs are masters at making moments significant. But the relationship that endures is often defined by unremarkable Tuesdays. Chores done without drama. Tea made without a speech. Walks taken without solving the world. If you can honor the mundane, your depth will not burn you out. Here is a tender piece. Many INFJs carry quiet grief about not being met in the past. You might have been the deep one in shallow rooms, the listener for everyone else's storms, the one who never wanted to be a burden. When you finally meet someone who can meet you, old grief can masquerade as entitlement. You might ask this new person to heal what others broke. You might demand perfect empathy because you've waited so long. That will crush any relationship, especially an INFJ-1 where both carry old stories. Trade entitlement for gratitude. Trade owed for offered. Begin with thank you before you ask for more. There is also the shadow work. 2 INFJs together can build an ethical fortress and still hide from their shadows behind language about compassion and purpose. The shadow of an INFJ can look like covert control cloaked as care, like moral certainty that suffocates, like purity that shames complexity. If you want to be ready for a true INFJ, you must learn how your goodness becomes a weapon when you are tired or afraid. You must be able to say, when I am scared, I moralize. When I am insecure, I become cryptic. When I am overwhelmed, I disappear inside meaning and stop hearing you. Owning that shadow openly converts it from a saboteur into a partner in growth. Passion matters too. 2 INFJs can create a romance that feels like prayer. But passionate connection requires bodies, not just minds. If you stay in your heads, intimacy becomes a philosophy lecture. Bring your senses to the relationship. Learn the language of touch, taste, smell, sound, and sight together. Cook together with intention, not just efficiency. Touch each other with presence, not just habit. Celebrate your partner's body without comparing it to an ideal. That sensory engagement anchors both of you so the lofty does not float away from the living. What about life design? INFJs often carry values about service, creativity, and impact. A true INFJ relationship thrives when life design reflects those values. That might mean building work lives that leave margin for reflection. It might mean choosing neighborhoods that nurture community. It might mean budgeting for generosity as if it were rent. And it definitely means aligning your calendar with your values. If your week is a graveyard for everything you say matters, the relationship will feel like an apology. Put your values on the calendar and your connection will breathe. Finally, the question at the center of this entire conversation: is your relationship ready for a true INFJ? Here is a simple way to know. Do you both treat truth as an act of love? Truth is saying I am not okay and trusting the other to hold it gently. Truth is saying I am okay and not being guilted into deeper drama. Truth is admitting when your intuition guesses wrong. Truth is letting your partner be different from you without translating difference into distance. Truth is choosing growth over legacy fantasies. Truth is small and daily, not just grand and cinematic. If you are ready, your relationship will not be perfect. It will be resilient. You will still misunderstand each other and then you will repair. You will still feel lonely sometimes, and then you will create new rituals of connection. You will still want to retreat into your private worlds, and then you will return with stories, not walls. You will still have seasons where meaning feels heavy, and you will lighten it with play on purpose. You will build a love that looks quiet to others and feels vast to you. And you will know you have matured when you no longer need the label to prove the bond. The relationship will be ready for a true INFJ when you can answer yes to 3 final questions. Can you tell the difference between safety and avoidance in your silence? Can you replace projection with asking even when asking feels awkward? And can you choose the ordinary, repeatedly, as the foundation for the extraordinary? If you can, you are ready. If you cannot yet, that is not a condemnation. It is an invitation to grow into the kind of person a true INFJ can meet halfway. Because at the end of the day, this is not about finding someone who finally understands you. It is about becoming someone who can be understood. It is not about the myth of 2 rare souls merging into one perfect form. It is about 2 courageous people choosing to see and be seen without a script. So if you are an INFJ wondering whether you should seek another INFJ, remember this. The magic is not in the mirror. The magic is in the work. It is in the choice to speak plainly when your instinct is to imply. It is in the courage to keep your heart soft while your mind stays sharp. It is in the patience to let love take the shape it needs, not the one you storyboarded long ago. A true INFJ relationship is not a secret garden you stumble into by luck. It is a garden you tend, season after season, with both hands in the soil, together. And if you are willing to do that, then yes, your relationship is ready.